employees to be held at 5:30 p.m. at the Council Chambers building. First up is a proclamation recognizing the 242nd birthday of the United States Army. Is there anyone here to receive this proclamation today? I know there was confusion about whether or not anyone would be able to show up for the meeting, but I'll go ahead and read the proclamation anyway. Recognizing the 242nd birthday of the United States Army. Whereas on June 14, 1775, the Second Continental Congress, representing the citizens of 13 American colonies, authorized the establishment of the Continental Army. And whereas the collective expression of the pursuit of personal freedom that caused the authorization and organization of the United States Army led to the adoption of the Declaration of Independence and the codification of our country's basic principles and values in the Constitution. And whereas for the past 242 years, the Army's central mission has been to fight and win our nation's wars. And whereas the motto of duty, honor, country is decreed by which the American soldier lives and serves. And whereas no matter what the cause, location, or magnitude of future conflicts, Americans can rely on their Army to produce well-trained, well-led, and highly motivated soldiers to carry out the missions entrusted to them. And whereas many citizens in the Cottonwood community have proudly served and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country's freedom while serving in the United States Army and other branches of our nation's military. Now therefore, I, Tim Malinsky, Mayor of Cottonwood, commend the soldiers of the United States Army, past and present, and recognize the historic significance of June 14, 2017 as the 242nd birthday of the United States Army, and express the appreciation of the citizens of the city of Cottonwood to the United States Army and to the dedicated soldiers who have served for 242 years. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused it fixed to be the seal of the city of Cottonwood. Thank you. And I failed to recognize that we have council members Pfeiffer, Vice Mayor Hodeggy, Councilmember Henry, Council members Norman and Allen with us here today. All right, next is employee of the quarter for the first quarter. This is Mark Larimore from Public Works. And who is here to, are you both?
That'll be me.
Okay, great, excuse me.
Would you like me to come up there, Mayor? Or?
You can stay there if you like, or come up. You should be in the photo, so why don't you come on up? Introduce your employee, please.
Mark Larimore is our Public Works Operations Foreman. And Mark and his crews were just recently recognized as the Team of the Year at our Employee Award celebration. But Mark individually has also been recognized and is celebrated today because of his work in actually helping us to more successfully merge two divisions, streets and parks and building maintenance, which are now working together seamlessly. And the merger has resulted in cost savings, shared resources, and better opportunities for employees to move up because of cross-training. Mark has also successfully implemented the new weed spraying program and was the first city employee to become fully certified for weed spraying. Mark now trains other employees to become certified by the state to spray for weeds. This program has saved the city over $40,000 annually because we used to contract this out. So, and we've gotten much better service this way as well. So it's really worked out well. I think most importantly, what I routinely compliment Mark and his crews for is just the condition of the city in general. The parks, Old Town, the streets have really improved dramatically under Mark's leadership, and I think that's really what he was recognized for here today. And one of his employees nominated him, which again is a testament to the support he gets and the support he encourages from his employees. And Mark truly does represent for the city of Cottonwood probably the best of one of our supervisors, and really lives by our supervisor and management values. So many thanks, Mark. You're a great example.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Council members. Congratulations to you.
good, Mark, is I've been known to go run or walk around the city, and I'll come back with a list of things I see. And I recently was out walking around, and I came back and gave Mark a call and said, "Hey, notice the grass out there doesn't looking too good. And we've got a guy out there watering it right now." I said, "Oh, okay, well, you know, the grass is starting to wet. That was sprayed this morning." So, I mean, this is how good these guys are. I feel like I'm working with a bunch of Radar O'Reillys who can read my mind and get things done before I even have to ask. So, and again, they take the initiative when they see something to just get it fixed. And that's what we're trying to get all our employees to do. So, Mark, again, is a great example. So, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have certificates of appreciation to Glenda, Farley, and Karen Leff for their years of service as members of the Historic Preservation Commission. So if I could call both of you up, please. I really appreciate both of you being here. So, a bit of background is I started the Historic Preservation Commission about, was it 6 years ago? 7 years ago? Time flies when you're having fun, right? And they both were, in fact, two people that I reached out to before ever deciding to form the commission, because I wanted to get their feedback on whether or not a commission could be successful in Cottonwood. So, and they've been with us for those full 7 years. And without both of their expertise and knowledge, the commission would not have been nearly as successful as it has been. So we really owe a lot of the great successes that we've experienced to these two wonderful women, and they've helped us out with the home tour. They've just been tremendous assets to us, and they both decided to resign, which is fine. But we're going to miss you very much on the commission, so thanks for your service. And I'd really like it if both of you would say just a few words. You're on film. No stress, no pressure. Share any words of wisdom you want. You don't have to. I'm just putting you on the spot. We'll miss you. I hope you'll still help us out with the home tour. Okay. Here's your certificate of appreciation. And Farley, would you like to share a few words? Yes, say it into the mic.
Well, I'm probably one of the longest standing business people in Old Town. I don't know if any of you know, but I have a historic Cottonwood hotel here. Most locals don't even know where it is, but because it's so small, it's basically a small boutique inn. But before I bought the hotel almost 22 years ago, I had a little clothing boutique with a little coffee and tea house. So I've been in business down here, well, close to 26 years. And I knew a lot of the old timers that were still living, and their dads actually built a lot of the buildings down here 2 and 3 times after a lot of the fires. And so anyways, I got a lot of oral history, and then of course I started going through archives when Glenda came and took one of my historic walking tours, and she's like, "Yeah, right, where'd you get that information?" And so when I showed her what I was doing, I was going up online and going through a lot of archives, and of course then I turned her onto it, and she kind of relieved me a lot. So, and she just carried on, and she's still going like crazy. So Glenda's really done a lot. But anyways, I just wanted to share.
Thank you. Do you want to refute anything she said? No, literally hours upon hours of research these two women have put in to make our commission more successful. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for being here. I'd like to, for the photo op, get Commissioner Bigelow up here as well, because he's also one of the founding members of the commission. Been there for 7 wonderful years. Has it really been 7? It's hard to believe. Am I blocking it? Not done yet, Karen. Sorry, we have one other thing. off the hook yet. Last but not least, introduction of new employees. We have someone here with us today named Joyce Oswald, who signed up to be our board application review committee member, citizen at large. So Joyce, if you wouldn't mind. When we appointed you, we all really wanted to meet you, but there wasn't an opportunity, so I wanted to get you in front of council so you can introduce yourself. So please come forward. Thanks. Anyway, I really do appreciate you signing up to be part of that selection committee. You're welcome to share a little bit of information about yourself and back to the council. If you would just be like
We moved here 3 years ago in late March. I was looking around for something to do that wouldn't require regular meetings. I'm retired. I want to stay retired. Also, I have obligations out of state that would require some sudden departures and maybe some long-term being away. So this application committee fit right into my background. I have more than 30 years of human resources management, so I like looking at applications and picking people for jobs. So this fit into exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm looking forward to it. I've done a little bit already, and I'm looking forward to even more of it. So thank you all. I'm glad to be here. I'm sorry I can't stay for the meeting.
That's okay. It'll be a long one. Easy. Thanks for coming in. That concludes our meeting. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll have a regular meeting starting at 6. No. To order. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held June 6, 2017 at 6 p.m. And will have the deputy clerk please take the roll.
Councilmember Althouse.
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Henry.
Here.
Vice Mayor Howergy.
Here.
And Mayor Linsky.
Here.
And Councilmember Norman's in the back.
Should be back shortly, I think. Okay. All right, please stand up and join me in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next item is brief summary of current events by mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Are there any council members that have anything to report?
We attended, I'm sorry, when did we attend that? We attended the groundbreaking for the vineyards in Cottonwood, which is a wonderful home developments coming in at Grosseto Ranch Road and 89A. That was a great event, and we're really glad to see that that's getting off the ground.
Very good. Please.
Councilmember Allen and I attended the Verde Valley Military Service Park flag raising or flag change and the unveiling of the Army monument. It was really awesome. It was a great ceremony and really nice to see the unveiling of the Army monument. The next unveiling, for those that are interested, is Thursday, June 22nd at 9 a.m., and it'll be the K-9 Memorial unveiling.
Great, thank you. Yes, please.
I have an announcement. The Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce is, after 30-some-odd years, vacating the corner at 89A and 260, and we're moving to Cove Parkway, 849 Cove Parkway. We should be operational there in the next 2 weeks.
Good. All right, anyone else? City Manager, do you have something to report?
Mayor, council members, you've stolen some of my thunder here, but we have our first dive-in movie at the Cottonwood Aquatic Center, the outdoor pool, on Saturday, June 10th. And the gates open at 7:45 p.m. and we'll be featuring the animated film Moana. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. We have Vacation Fire School. Our Cottonwood Fire Department is putting on that for ages 9 to 12. And that'll be at the Cottonwood Fire Department on June 15th and 16th. And where the kids participate in a wide variety of fire and life safety skills. And we also are just beginning, actually about a week ago, we started our first session of summer day camp with a sellout crowd for that. And our swim lessons are ongoing this week. So anybody that has kids, take a look at what Parks and Rec offers. It really is amazing how many programs are available to our young people and our adults through the summer season. So that's it, Mayor and Council.
All right. If there's nothing else, we move on to call to the public. If there's anyone out there that would like to address the public, there are yellow forms on the back table there. But this portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action, and comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. Is there anybody in the audience tonight that wishes to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda? No? Okay. We'll close the floor and move on to approval of minutes of the work session of April 11, 2017, regular meeting of May 2, 2017, and work session of May 9, 2017. I'll go ahead and motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Allen seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Thanks. All right. Unfinished business, resolution number 2888, discussion, consideration, and possible legal action to reappoint presiding city magistrate A. Douglas Lasota to a new two-year term commencing on April 13, 2015. And as council knows, we reviewed did his performance evaluation last month and gave some direction to look at different efficiencies, and I know the judge has sent on a lot of that information to council. I trust council's had an opportunity to go through all that information. And so we're here tonight really because we went ahead and tabled the item. We're here tonight to decide whether or not we want to reappoint Judge Lasota to a 2-year term based on the information that we've received. So that's the way I want to frame this discussion tonight. I did look over all the information that he sent and have had conversations with other municipalities and other courts, and I think that we're at a point right now where there's an opportunity to run our court more efficiently. So I would just like to share with council that I think that, now that we're at this point with his renewal, I'm more inclined at this point, based on the information that I've received, to not reappoint Judge Lasota and seek different ways to run our court more efficiently.
Do we have an example of some of those ways that we're looking, that have been looked at to run the court more efficiently?
We do, yeah, we do. And, I can provide that information at a work session if the council chooses. But there, I think, are many options on the table that I think the council would find attractive.
I thought that those were going to be presented before we made a decision. I thought in the executive session last time I thought we tasked Ms. Henry with gathering some of that information and bringing it back, and I haven't seen it. So it just seems a little weird to me that we're not getting all the information so we can make a decision.
Certainly.
I believe we need to be fair to our judge, who, as we know, is holding over. And I think with the passage of time, we're in an increasingly unfair situation. And I think we do need to decide, are we going to, address the contract sooner rather than later out of equity at this point?
I think to approve his contract for another 2 years is it won't allow us to provide those efficiencies within that time frame. And I think there are great efficiencies that we can provide. I'm very confident in that. So this is a difficult conversation, obviously, because we're talking about a real person who has a job and a family and everything else. And so it makes it very uncomfortable, obviously. But, there are efficiencies that we can provide to the public, and I think it's our duty to do that. So that's where I'm coming from with this.
I guess where I have a problem is, you know what these things are, and it appears others do, but I don't.
Right.
And all I've seen is the stuff that Judge Lasota has given us, and I think he's done his part in providing all the things we asked him to do, but we also asked council, members of council, to bring back other information, and so I feel like I'm getting half the story.
Excuse me, Mayor. If I may also clarify that they're two separate items. We need to figure out whether or not we want to continue his contract, and discussion of what we do if we do or do not continue his contract can be touched upon, but really the details have to be worked out separate because they are two different items. And I know that's difficult, but one is whether or not we are going to approve his contract or continue it or not. And so there has to be a little care taken because they are two separate items.
Mayor? Go ahead.
I'm with you. I don't have all the details. I thought tonight we were going to get details of what Ms. Henry came up with, and I don't think it's really fair to the rest of the council, whether we have to go into executive session again or not, to not have all the information that a few people have. And I'm uncomfortable with it also. I just think that we've been kept in the dark on some of the information, and that's the way I feel.
And that's a fair statement. There are obviously a lot of moving parts to it. I just, in fairness to the judge, I don't want him to continue holding over. And I think if we reappoint for another 2 years, then we're 2 years out before we can make any decision.
Look, can we hear from the judge how he feels about continuing to hold over until the rest of us get all the information?
Certainly. Any further discussion from council on this?
I'm willing to hold over if necessary. I think there's enough votes on the council to reappoint me tonight anyway, but if it goes that far. But, the one thing is, you want to talk about trying to be fair to the judge. How are you being fair to the judge when there's no transparency whatsoever? You had no transparency about what you were trying to do the last session when we had executive session, and I tried to discuss those things with you when we met in person, and you refused to give me an answer to it, and then I had to hear about it for the first time in executive session. And then tonight, as Ms. Althouse ably pointed out, Ms. Henry was supposed to come forward with things by tonight, and that there are things that you have, that she has, apparently Ms. Allen has.
I don't have them. Excuse me, don't make assumptions.
Okay. Well, at least two of you have. And the others haven't had it shared with them. And you want them to make a decision not to reappoint me based on information that they haven't even had a chance to see, and that you haven't even given me a chance to see so that I could have a chance to address it. Since I was here the last month, you asked me to look at things for like cost cuts and things like that. In the past month alone, with the 2 staff changes we've done, I've saved $17,000 in what we've done in the staff changes just in the past month alone. I haven't gotten any chance to look at anything else or to respond to anything else because you failed to be transparent and provide that to me or any of your fellow council members, which I think is unfair.
So to be clear, you're comfortable then with holding over until council can make a decision?
Right? Unless they want to vote, unless there's ones that want to vote on it tonight and reappoint me.
I'm not comfortable with that. That is not a solution. And I've had multiple conversations with our our city attorney about the time frame. My preference had been, when we left things previously, to report back with some options. I've just spent considerable time on exploring different options, and I do have some information. One thing that was brought to my attention fairly quickly, though, was if in exploring other options with other public entities, it's not a 1 week conversation, it's not a 2 week conversation, it's a multi-month conversation, or it can be, and it has to be in public session. We have to allow the public the opportunity to weigh in. And is that fair? Does that mean we have an impartial court if our court believes that at any minute we could be moving in a different direction? I don't believe so. I believe we need to have some finality. We need to have that independence of the court, and we need to give clear guidance as a council. Now, I can tell you, if anybody, if you do want some preliminary information, I reached a certain point with regard to numbers because, again, we have to look at other entities that we're dealing with. However, in discussions, in looking at case numbers from other courts and looking at the ratio of case numbers to full-time judicial employees, full-time staff, I believe now we are at a good position. We're having these budget talks. Council has been under, I know I get emails and phone calls about how we need to be more efficient with our budget, and there are some very identifiable efficiencies if we do move in and explore the directions with other entities, especially with regard to these new safety mandates that are coming down that are going to be quite costly, not just for us, but for other entities. I believe this is an appropriate time. I also believe we need to be fair. We need to have clear guidance and maintain that impartiality for our court.
In response to the safety thing that you just mentioned, it comes down for our court. We're going to have to buy a wand for a couple of court appearances every week on the pretrials and arraignments. It's not going to cost us an extensive amount of money to do that. And we're also going to be able to solicit volunteers to help use the wand on people coming into court too. So it's not going to be the big expense that.
Well, let's have that discussion then,
because. And also, can I finish responding?
Sure, certainly.
And also, you know, with Clarkdale, if we absorb their cases too, then that would be a significant extra number of cases we would be handling with extra revenues coming into the court and with no additional expense, since we'd be able to do that with the same staff that we have now.
And that's an excellent point that you just said. Now it's just a wand. When I last was reviewing communications about the safety upgrades, it was possible scanners, it was cameras, it was key swipe and key access pads, and a whole number of items, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we need to take a look. I know we can get some waivers for some items, we can get some extensions, but that's something that I'd want to look at in a meaningful manner with the rest of council with all of that information.
Okay, the cameras that you're talking about, that's a separate issue than the requirements that are coming down for security. Those are things that we were already in the process of planning, that we already have money set aside to pay for with court enhancement fund money. Those are things that have been getting planned for months, and those are going to be getting installed over the next few months with money that's court enhancement fund money, which doesn't touch city revenues. So that's already done regardless of the new requirements that are coming down. The new requirements that are coming down, basically, we're going to have a wand. But the other matters are already paid for from court enhancement fee money. And additionally, if there is any additional expenses that come out of that, we have over $100,000 of court enhancement fund money that's going to be able to pay for anything extra, even if it ends up being more than the wand.
Councilmember Allen, please.
I have a question. Because the last session was, that's why I'm reticent to bring some things up that we discussed. Because we were in executive session, I'm unaware of what we can and can't discuss at this point, because it was transparent in there when the judge was sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what I can speak about out here because there are two different items. We're not allowed to speak. Can you speak to that, please?
That's right, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Allen. There is a lot of what was discussed, and we've even in this discussion approached things and characterized things that were said in executive session. And as the council knows, because we've discussed this every time we go into executive session, those discussions are legally privileged and confidential.
So it's difficult for me because I want to reiterate some of the things that I brought up at that point, and that's why I am of the opinion that I'm at when I can't verbalize that. So it's very difficult for me.
It is. It's a difficult situation that we're in. His contract is up. I'm of the mind, same as Councilmember Henry, that now is the time to look at those other options. And I feel very confident that there are many other options that would save our taxpayers many thousands of dollars. I feel very confident of that. I think there's a more efficient way to run our court, and now is the time. And I personally don't feel like having the judge hold over indefinitely while we have these conversations is fair to the judge. I think there are mechanisms in place right now where we can have a pro tem fill in as presiding magistrate, so the court will run same as it has, and then council can have those discussions. We can share all the information that we've gathered and have those very public, very important policy discussions in public, transparent in public. That's what needs to happen.
Excuse me, just 1 second, if I may. I'd like to see us go into executive session at this time to be able to hear what Ms. Ellen has to say. And I think other folks have a few things to add that they'd rather say in executive session than in the public right now.
Mr. Horton.
As the agenda reads, the council has the prerogative to convene an executive session to obtain legal advice and to discuss contracts, but that can't be a substitute for having a personnel discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would advise the council is the constraints on an executive session, if you vote to convene in it, are to solicit and obtain legal advice from me.
So I'll move to convene an executive session for the purpose of consulting with our attorney for the purpose of obtaining legal advice.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Henry made the motion and Vice Mayor Hudeke seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We resolve in executive session. To convene back into regular session.
Second.
So Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're back in regular session.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, if I may, after.
If I could, a little bit of quiet out there, please. Thank you.
In the back, I'd like to make this motion. I move to approve resolution number 2888, reappointing Judge, presiding city magistrate A. Douglas Lasorda to a new 2-year term with no raise, expiring on April 13th, 2019.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion and Councilmember Piper seconded it. Mr. McLean, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Althouse,
Yes.
Councilmember Norman,
Yes.
Councilmember Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Councilmember Allen,
No.
Councilmember Henry,
No.
Vice Mayor Howergy,
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
No. Thank you. The motion passes. Okay, moving on is the consent agenda. Oh, I'm so sorry. Deputy Clerk, if you would read resolution number 2888.
Resolution number 2888, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing A. Douglas Lasorda as City Magistrate and establishing his term of office.
Thank you. Okay, moving on is the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda: cooperative use of the Fire Rescue CPO contract number VH 11277 for the procurement of a Hearst E-hydraulic Jaws of Life rescue tools for the Cottonwood Fire and Medical Department. And number 2 is multi-year professional services agreement with FPA Limited Fireworks Productions of Arizona to provide fireworks display services for the city's 4th of July celebration. Is there any council member that would like to pull an item from the agenda, from the consent agenda? No. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Pfeiffer made the motion and Councilmember Norman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. All right, new business. Item 1 is application for matching grant for a backwash treatment pilot program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The utility department operates 22 water production wells in our system, and associated with those wells are 18 arsenic removal systems. The wells that serve inside Cottonwood drain the effluent directly into the city sewer system. Over time, the arsenic levels have risen at the wastewater plant. They affect the O&M costs, they affect the disposal costs for the biosolids, and basically driving up general wastewater treatment costs. The Bureau of Reclamation has a small matching grant as part of their, what's the name of this, small-scale water efficiency program. A matching grant not to exceed $75,000. What I'm trying to do with this is to replicate a system that's installed at a well site here in the city, basically a back-end system that would take the effluent from the arsenic treatment system, drain the solid arsenic material out of it, put the water back into the treatment system, and if this was replicated at all the city's well sites, we'd save approximately 30 million gallons a year in potable water. So tonight I'm asking for Council's approval of the grant application and authorization to provide matching funds not to exceed $75,000 if the Bureau of Reclamation chose to grant us this award. Award us this grant.
Very good. Thank you.
Any questions, folks?
Any questions? Okay.
Make a motion.
Please.
I move to approve the application for a matching grant for a backwash treatment pilot program through the United States Department of Reclamation's Water Smart Small-Scale Water Efficiency Program, and authorize the city to provide up to 50% matching funds in an amount not to exceed $75,000 if the grant is awarded.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Allen made the motion and Althouse seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is public hearing regarding adoption of the city's fiscal year 2017-18 tentative budget.
Mayor and Council, traditionally we have our public hearing. The budget has been on the city's website for the public to view, so it has been available. They gave us 30 minutes for this item. Traditionally, it's the other way around. It's 5 minutes, and then we get 30 minutes to explain the entire budget to the council. I will do it either way council would rather have it.
What's council's preference on this? That's just a suggestion.
You got 35 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, one way or the other, so I can do either or.
You can just move into your presentation, it'll be fine.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And then we'll open the floor to the public. This is pretty much a high-level overview. Council has already reviewed the budget. We have not received any comments in our offices, but I'll take it back. We did get some questions, which were very, very good. We'll go ahead. One of the questions stemmed over the numbers that were in 2016. There was a number of negative numbers in some of our pages, realizing that 2016 in your budget happens to be already audited numbers. And the numbers that you see that are negative are those, the amount of usage or the usage of fund balance. Take, for example, in 2016 in our general fund, we budgeted to use $1.3 million worth of fund balance when we actually use only $200,000, over $200,000. So you'll see in our general fund that we have a negative $200,000. That's the use of the fund balance that we actually did use. So all those numbers are explained. By all means, as I go through this and beyond, if you still have questions between now and the budget, and of course afterwards, by all means, email them over to me, and I'll be happy to go ahead and answer them for you. Again, this is a high-level overview. I want to go over briefly the budget process. As you know, and I've mentioned before, we go through a first round of budget where we go out and release forms with a lot of information to our department heads, ask them to build a base budget for us. And their base budget basically means what would it take to just open the doors and provide the current level of services without any additional staff, no increases, nothing, just basically what would it take to open the doors? And to start with, we were looking at about $196,000 deficit. That doesn't mean that there's no money available. That just means that taking what we expect to bring in revenues and what it expects to cost us, we were short by $196,000. That's not taking into account a lot of our reserves. After the meeting with the city manager, when we add in what we think is needed personnel, any type of changes, necessary capital, we go ahead and we were at $784,000 deficit. At that time, we asked our department heads to go back to their budgets and review their budgets and decide what needs to be moved out to another year. Are we going to actually spend that much money? Take, for example, our Mingus project will probably not be completed, so we have to roll some of it over. So we go back and ask them to go ahead and look a little bit closer at their budgets and try to be a little bit more realistic about what they're going to spend. As a reminder, our proposed budget and our tentative budget includes a lot of our reserves, a lot of grants that we don't know whether we're going to get. If we don't get them, we don't spend them. So it's still a bit inflated, quite a bit inflated. The one departments that came through for us, of course, was fire, police, rec center parks, and then, of course, we had to trim down some of our undesignated reserves. Our originally proposed budget was $84,995,470. It increased by $59,270 to $85,054,740. And those are basic changes as we go through the budget. This is a living, breathing document. We still find little errors here and there, and we go ahead and correct them. But what we're going to be doing today by adopting the budget is that number will be set at the 85 million mark, and it won't expand from there any further. Wanting to touch on the personal overview, we were able to reduce $532,000 out of the budget. Other things were actually moved over. A lot of the things were actually moved over. New personnel, $891,000 worth of personnel was requested. Only $121,000 was actually put into the budget, and only if grants were available for them. If the grants do not come through, we won't budget those particular positions, or we won't hire those particular positions. We reclassified or adjusted positions. There was $18,000 worth of requests. Only 6,400 were actually approved. Part-time positions, there was $96,000 worth of part-time positions. Not a single one was actually added into the budget itself. These are the positions that were either added or adjusted. As you can see, economic development, engineering, and police, we're asking for some positions. They will happen only if there is grant funding for them. The other positions down a little bit further, I have to point out that the admin services general manager to deputy city manager is my position. I just want to make that clear, seeing that I would be, in a sense, benefiting, not necessarily. It's just a range change. There would not be any salary increase for me at this point in time. The others are communication service, actually community services. It's actually the pool, the fire department. We made some range changes for them. Didn't cost the city any money. The police department also had some range changes. As we have mentioned before, we always put the fire department at the same range levels. When you look throughout the state of Arizona and a lot of other states, police department is always a little bit higher than the fire department, and we figured that it was rightfully so. So we went ahead and made those changes on the police department. They'll be slightly higher than our fire department. And the only changes there is about $6,400 worth of salary increases, and those were for a couple of officers who were already at the bottom. We're entry level. We're going to have to bring them up to the entry level of their new range. In order to balance the budget, we eliminated 2 police officers and 1 communications specialist. And that makes 4 police officers that we're down now from 3 years ago. We did request that the city manager be authorized to fill one of these positions if we got a good candidate, and two, we could find the funding for it. Just so council knows, we're probably going to be looking at trying to get these positions funded into the futures. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do it, but we'll be working towards it. These positions are not necessarily RIFs. We're not a reduction in workforce. We're actually looking at positions that we have out there that we're almost certain we're not going to be able to hire. So why would we go ahead and put the budget authority in there? But just in case we're wrong, we want to go ahead and ask council to authorize the city manager to be able to add at least one of these positions back if a good candidate funding is available. This is not an anomaly. Communications and police departments all over the state and actually all over the country are having problems hiring positions. It's making it really, really difficult to fill those positions. If you look down in Phoenix, there are in excess of 200 some odd positions that they can't seem to fill. All of the cities seem to be in the same position. We're all fighting for this limited amount of resources of police officers that we have. Communications specialists, basically the same way. We're having a hard time hiring people, and we've mentioned it before, since we are on TV right now, if anyone would like to be a police officer, please contact our police department. Communications specialists the same way. We would like to have people in these spots. So over the last 3 years, we've cut a few positions off. We've kind of reorganized some of the responsibilities. We're short a building official, a general manager. We did away with it, and those responsibilities are now on our city manager. As I previously mentioned, we're down 4 police officers, a communications specialist, and a public works superintendent, totaling $713,000 over the last 3 years in salaries and benefits. The status of our employee benefits, our merit program is fully funded. Our cost of living adjustment at 3.3%, $33,000 was eliminated. This will be the 3rd consecutive year that we have not given a COLA. Just so you know, in the next couple of years, the new Proposition 206, that forces part-time employees to have a regular COLA every year is going to have to probably change that for us, unfortunately. Longevity, $448,000 worth of longevity was eliminated. This program started in 2007 and we only offered it once. Our health insurance premiums will be increasing by 4%. As a reminder, we're going from Arizona Public Employers Health Pool to a merged pool called A.R.S. in order to keep our rates down. We've been real successful with the APHP program, staying about 6 to 7%. But now we're looking for a way to grow so that we can keep those increases down as much as possible. The retirement, we have A.S.R.S, PSPRS, Fire, PSPRS, Police, that's Public Safety Personnel Retirement System, is the PSPRS. As you can see, we have some large increases in our rates in the Public Safety Retirement System, and we're estimating that just the Police Department alone and Fire Department alone, we're looking at nearly $1.7 million. And we've got a topic on the agenda to discuss a little bit later about PSPRS. One of the things that the city has always strived to do is to support certain agencies outside of the city organization. These particular agencies the city would have to fund them or find some sort of program to sponsor these things if it wasn't for the city actually putting them in as a line item. We have the Old Town Association is being funded at $10,000, Senior Center $55,000, Humane Society $43,900. NACOG, that one is funded by the water system. That is to help people that need help for their water. We have up to 15. We usually offer $10,000 up front and another 5 once if they use up all the 10 in one fiscal year, we add another 5 to it. The Chamber of Commerce, that's our bed tax. We're basically a pass-through for them. They comes in and they come out. They've been averaging almost $20,000 a month. So they may blow this number out of the water. But again, If it comes in, it goes right back out again. Old Town Center for the Arts is still funded at $20,000. Building community grants, we're working through that. We actually have a meeting this Thursday to discuss that particular grant funding. It's still at $15,000, and the Burning Festival is sponsored by General Fund and the Water Department at $2,000. It's split half and half between the two agencies. Our general fund reserve status still, we maintain a 60-day coverage, 16.66%. General Government Finance Officers Association has a rule of thumb for cities about there, our size at about 15%. We're slightly over that. So we're at a little over $3 million. We keep a cash reserve fund for capital, called the Capital Accumulation Fund of $1 million. And the undesignated reserves traditionally are $100,000. This year we got it at $49,745. That's just a little bit larger than it was in your proposed budget. Wanted to touch base on something that can be a little bit confusing to people. Our original versus our revised versus our actual. There's actually two budgets we work with. Our original budget, that is basically includes all of our fund balances, any anticipated capital improvements, potential grants, any type of financing that we're looking for is all included in our budget. As you can see, it's gone from 57 to 132 million in different years. And then when we do the revised budget, we're already, okay, the original budget is looking ahead a future year when we only have 3 months worth of information. Okay, so here we're looking for 2018, but we were working with July, August, and September numbers for next year. That's what causes this, because we have no clue. We're going to take advantage of any possible grant funding, financing that's available, so forth. When it comes to a revised budget, we're already in the year, but it's, again, we're only working with 3 months, and we have to try to estimate what we're going to do for the next 9 months. And of course, we're always optimistic, so we always leave a lot of money, a big buffer in the way, so we have a bit of a drop. Our actual is already post, meaning it has already happened, it's already been spent, and that's our audited numbers. So as you can see from our original to our revised, our actual numbers, it's actually fair. It just grows just a little bit from year to year. In some cases, it goes down depending on whether we actually did a financing or not. From 2007 to current, we've had a little bit over a 3% increase annually from year to year, if I'm not mistaken. And those are numbers we should be comparing, is where we are from actual, because the originals are budget allocation. We need to have budget authority to be able to spend the money, and if we don't have it, we can't spend it. We were talking just briefly about an example. If a department comes in and looks at a grant that's worth $1 million and they think they can get it, I will budget for it, whether they get it or not. But the worst case scenario would be that I don't budget for it and they get it and we can't spend it. And as an example, for those members that have been here before, we had a Fire Act grant a few years ago that we actually had to turn down and give back because we didn't have the budget authority to get it spent. Our next public hearing, final budget adoption, will be June the 20th, in 2 weeks, the regular council session. As a reminder, the tentative budget actually sets our expenditure limit. The next budget comes in, if we make any changes to it, will not exceed that amount. Any questions?
Any questions from council? No.
I don't know if I should bring it up now, Rudy. I have 2 inquiries about the budget, and I talked to Rudy quite a bit, and he gave me a lot of information. And I just wanted to make notes of 2 items that I had a question on. Is this appropriate time?
Yes.
Okay.
Either or. We have 35 minutes on that.
I'm easy. I'm easy. I went through the budget pretty carefully, and Rudy knows. I mean, I went through it page by page. There were 2 items that I had questions on, and I'm not picking on the city clerk's office. It was just 2 items that I have questions on and hope that there can be some changes made. And I kind of touched base with Matt ahead of time, but I want to make sure it's on record. that there's on page 95, there's a statement made that the city clerk's office will serve the mayor, and I thought it would be more appropriate to be mayor and city council, just to add that. It's not a big thing, but I thought it'd be more appropriate to add and city council, since we're all her supervisor. And then, and yours. You too. And page 96, there was the, my apologies. Performance measures that all the departments have to turn in performance measures annually, and the city clerk's office is the only one that didn't have those in there. And my assumption is that they're going to be in there before it's published, but if you want to go ahead and just make a note of that, that was my only inquiries, okay?
And just so council knows, those performance measures we're working on them. When we submit to GFOA our budget, they come back and they make some suggestions for us. There's performance measures all over the place, but Helen has been working diligently trying to upgrade those performance measures so that there's something that is more meaningful to council rather than just, we have more people coming in. Obviously, that happens from year to year, but we want performance measures that actually mean something to us, just as council as well as staff. So we're working on those things. Our accomplishments and goals also come in from our department heads, and we're working to kind of get them to give us real accomplishments and real goals rather than just the everyday, well, I answer phone calls. But yes, that's an accomplishment. Well, that's a normal course of work. So we're going to be updating those over the next few years, and it's not an easy task because sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to try to figure out just to write performance measures and just exactly what is an accomplishment for some of these departments.
We had discussed under that performance indicator too to sort of identify what element of the council's strategic plan that it falls in line with. Is that something we can develop?
Certainly, we can do a lot of things with these things. If you have some ideas, please by all means send them over to us. But either for this budget, we can still make adjustments to it as I noted in the budget. Actually, I didn't. Kirsten noted in the budget. There's sections that are highlighted in red or just red bold letters. Those are areas that we're still editing and stuff. The numbers are all in there. They've already been cross-checked. Everything is good. But this is a pretty lengthy document, so you'll find areas that are still in red letters. Means that we're still going through some of those areas. So any changes you have right now would be a good time to go ahead and get them done for our final.
I'm looking at it now, and it looks like I see city council goal. Is that part of what we discussed?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay.
And I can take a look at those, Mayor, and see where we can plug those in, because obviously there's a lot more that goes on beyond the goals of the council and those strategic initiatives.
Sure.
But I think where the goals coincide, I think, yeah, absolutely, we can make that.
It'd be nice for the council and I think public too to see that because our directives are based off of the feedback we get from the citizens. Of course, we want to see how that ties into the budget.
Yeah, and again, that's what we use to try and make sure we hit all those goals and strategic initiatives as part of the budget process too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is it any other questions from council? Shall we open it up to the public then? Okay. So we'll go ahead and begin the hearing. If there's anyone in the public who wishes to address the council, now is your opportunity. Don't be shy. You're always welcome to email the council or call us at any time too if you have any questions. So, last chance. $85 million, folks. Okay. All right. All right, then we'll close the floor to the public. And move on to the adoption.
Well, I don't think that I did everything during the public hearing. There's really not much to say. This is a balanced budget as required by statute. This actually you're actually giving us the authority to move forward with this budget at July 1st. Understanding that capital items, when they're purchased, depending on their size, will be coming back to council even though there are authorized, we always come back with the council, especially the larger items, off supplies and stuff that we do internally. But any capital projects, we do bring before council before we do anything.
Okay. Okay. Then we're moving on to adoption then, so.
Ready for a motion?
If there's no discussion at all, then yeah, we'll take a motion.
I move to adopt the city's proposed fiscal year 2018 tentative budget as presented and to establish the city's fiscal year 2018 expenditure limitation at $85,054,740.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Norman made the motion and Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is request from Damian Browning of Steps to Recovery Homes for co-sponsorship of their second annual Erase the Stigma Educational and Awareness Day event scheduled for June 24th, 2017 at the Cottonwood Recreation Center. If I could please just call forward Mr. Damian Browning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Damian met with me during my office hours and came forward with a request, and I wanted to have the council have an opportunity to hear from Damian on the program that that he will be offering at the Recreation Center, give a little bit of background information, and see if the council would like to support this event.
So I have this thing. Has everybody seen the flyers? So I have some flyers too. Everybody seen those?
You can pass them to the city manager, and he can get them down to us, and you can put some on the table in the back too for the public if you'd like.
These flyers have gone out already?
Yeah.
So Steps to Recovery Homes will host the second annual Erase the Stigma Educational Awareness Day at the Cottonwood Recreation Center on June 24th, 2017 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Last year, over 300 people attended the event, and we hope to have a bigger turnout this year. Erase the Stigma is a free event to the public that focuses on fostering an understanding in the community about addiction and mental health, how they coexist, and the solutions that are available. Free food and day passes to the rec center will be offered to all attendees. We'll have 7 keynote speakers that will speak on topics such as community awareness, grief, trauma. Area businesses will have exhibit booths with information for the public about resources in our community to help. I am requesting co-sponsorship from the City of Cottonwood to help. We have come up with a few reasonable options to get involved. These are the first option is to offset the cost of the facility. The second option is to contribute day passes for this specific day to give to attendees. And the third option is to become a co-sponsor with a monetary contribution of $500 that would go right towards that. The fourth option is any other kind of monetary donation to help make this event possible. At Steps to Recovery Homes, we understand that there are many other organizations that continue to ask for assistance. All of these organizations play a key role in our community that we encourage and support. We would like to point out that, 1, this event will have many of these organizations present with their information for the public. 2, addiction and mental health play an intricate part and manifest themselves in so many areas of our community. And 3, this issue has a detrimental effect on our city, from complicating things with our emergency responders, creating homelessness, dysfunction in our schools and at home, and even hurting our economy and workforce. And 4, this event is for educating the public about these issues and giving the public tools to use when faced with a crisis. Last year we had over 40 organizations with booths set up at this event and hope to have more this year. Co-sponsoring this event is a win-win for the city. Addiction and mental health are core issues in our community that affect our economy and family lives. We lack substantial community involvement and believe it is essential that everyone in our city embrace this movement. As leaders, we can pave the way for a safer environment for generations to come. We hope that you agree and will join us in the annual Education and Awareness Day. Erase the Stigma is something I came up with to actually start getting the community involved with some understanding so we can help these issues that are nationwide. I think 2 days ago or something, the governor addressed the opiate crisis as a state of emergency. I mean, a few months ago, it was the Surgeon General as the #1 crisis in America. I deal with it on the front lines every day. Addiction continues to get worse and worse, and people are, there needs to be some help out there. And I know there's a lot of places that help. I think one of the things in my mind was to start erasing the stigma, and I know there's stigmas around everything, but what I mean by that is to actually get people, instead of being afraid of what's going on, get people to understand, so when they're faced with a crisis or a situation, that they know that there's help available. For otherwise, if it's somebody going through a mental health crisis or an addiction issue, that there is help available, and people do recover, and it helps our community in all kinds of ways. I mean, just personally, all the people that we touch have made a great impact on our community. I mean, with their families, with holding jobs, with just being, you know, just, it's amazing. And personally, myself, I've been through some addiction issues, and I've come through, so I like to help with that and try to give back to our community and make our community a safer place for everybody. Mm-hmm. This is one of the ways we're doing it. So it's a free event. We're just putting all this together. We've been asked to do it in Prescott, Flagstaff, all over the state. So we want to continue to do it here in the Verde Valley because this is our community and we care. And it's pretty much what's going on.
Okay. Can you go into a little bit of detail about some of the other, the speakers that you'll have and some of the other folks that will be tabling at your event? Some of the other agencies?
Well, the mission will be there. I just talked to Catholic Charities. They'll be there. Mm-hmm. Angie's House is going to have a booth there. Mm-hmm. Triple Point. We have Sonoran Prevention Works is going to come and talk about Narcan. I have right now, we have 26 organizations set up to be there, so there's a whole wide range of people. Either, well, like Spectrum's going to be there. We have a bunch of sponsors, Decision Point, which is in Prescott. All the sponsors are on the bottom. All those places will be there. So there's I don't know all of them right now. Mm-hmm. The keynote speakers, and that's what the flyer's for. On the keynote speakers, we're going to be talking about you know, some of the issues, some of the trauma, and some of the things people go through. I have a lady coming up from Phoenix that lost 2 children to overdoses, and she's going to talk about not only going through that process, but what to do about that, because a lot of people lose loved ones and they don't know what to do. So she's going to talk about her process through that and what she's been doing to kind of help her do that.
Mm-hmm. And just for the benefit of the public, can you just rattle off a few of the sponsors that have come on board to help you with the event?
Matt Force, Spectrum, Decision Point, Prescott House, Lost Inside Ministries, Triple Point. I'm trying to remember how many.
You're doing a great job.
You got me again, man. You get me with this, right?
You're doing a great job.
Yeah,
all right.
There's been a wide range of people. NAMI, you know, they're going to have a booth there, and she's the head of NAMI in the Verde Valley in Sedona and Cottonwood is actually going to be speaking about mental health issues and stuff like that too.
Right. All right. And again, what you're asking for, just to go down the list here, is to offset the cost of the facility, which we figure is about $576.
I think it's 600 and something.
Oh, 650 if that includes setup.
The facility is going to cost like 620 to 650, and then the rec center passes. What we're going to do is buy at least 200 to 300 rec center passes. I don't know if I'm going to use them all. Mm-hmm. And then we got the food, which is going to cost, who knows? It depends on how many people we feed. So it's kind of a heavy thing, but I think it's important. And a lot of the sponsors are pitching in, and the more that we can help and get help with offsetting those costs, the more people we can help and the more we can put more of these on. I actually just wrote a grant. It was my first personal grant that I wrote to do some of these in other areas. You know, so I don't know if I'm going to get that, but we'll see.
Good. Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
I have a question.
Sure.
I know these went out, so my assumption is that if the city was not to provide this free, you'd still be able to afford it? Is that correct?
Well, we're going to make it work, yeah.
Okay, because these went out before the council actually approved it, so, and then I was...
What the flyers have been out for a while, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make it happen one way or not.
Okay,
you know.
That was my question. Just as a fiscal gatekeeper, I just thought it was unusual that it's coming to the council now, but it's already out there that that it's happened. That was my question.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get as much community awareness and people to come so we can help more people in the community with these issues. So I make things happen. I mean, and I'm going to continue to come and ask for help and get more people involved.
Yeah, Mr. Browning put one of these events on last year. This is his second event. He's certainly going to do it regardless if the city comes on as a sponsor. I think there's just an opportunity now for the city to express its support for the event.
I think it's an opportunity for the city to get involved with the movement and realize that there's an issue here and just show some support. The city doesn't have to do it. I'm just asking because it will help.
That wasn't my point, and the city's very much aware of it. We've been through Mat Force, et cetera. We've been very supportive of our addicted community and our community that's trying to get back on their feet. I just had a question specific to that.
I like the idea of the day passes. I think it promotes the rec center along with, helping this event. I think that's the one that stands out to me as something I like, because it also helps have people use the rec center. They're going to be there.
We love the rec center, and our intent was to actually get more people in and actually see, wow, there's things for the kids to do. So that was really
why. I like that idea, because I think it's a benefit for the city as well.
Okay.
Not that I'm trying to benefit off but
no, I get it, but I think that's a big piece of addiction, because it starts. There's issues that go on early and with the children. And, a lot of children think, oh, there's nothing to do. Well, there's stuff to do, and when the parents go in and see, hey, look at this. I mean, I don't know. It's just an idea.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
So how many day passes are we looking at? The monetary value of that?
$500.
Okay, that was it.
That would be 200 day passes would be $500 is what he has here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much they're
It's a
going to get.
guesstimate.
I think I'm going to talk to them about a discounted rate if we get a bulk like that. We haven't had that discussion. I'm kind of waiting to see what the city says and if they will help.
Okay.
To have those discussions.
Okay. How does the rest of the council feel on this?
It's a great event.
It's a great event. I think it's wonderful that we can do cost of the facility, and then the attendees. I'm a little questionable about giving out $500 because we just saw our budget and we saw the cuts that we're doing. This is kind of almost an in-kind, just we're going to be there, we're going to be open, let's go ahead and do that. I'm a little more concerned about giving out $500 cash.
I would agree. I think the in-kind support would be, I think, tremendous for the event.
That's really what I want. I just put some options out there. Just to put options.
Any other comments from council?
I think it's a win-win situation.
Okay, so then what's the pleasure of council then to give the 200 day passes for the event?
That sounds good.
Yeah, not to exceed $500 in day passes. Do you want to word that for us?
So are we not offsetting the cost of the facility? We're passing out passes? Because my preference would be to do the in-kind and offset the cost of the facility, possibly even help us set up, because we're still showcasing the recreation center. But I don't know if the benefit with the day passes, I mean, how are you passing them out? Who's receiving them?
We're going to get with we've already had discussions with the rec center about that, and we're going to finalize that actually probably real soon, hopefully. And we'll have a booth there, and we're going to have to actually give wristbands and kind of, there's going to be waivers that they'll sign and make sure, obviously, that they follow all the rec center guidelines too. That they can't have their kids under there unattended and stuff like that. I don't know how many people are actually going to take a day pass, but what we're going to do is we're going to go down the hallway to the event hall, because we're going to have it at the event hall. That way, if they go into the rec center or want to use the rec center, then we can say, here's a day pass. I'm not even sure, I'm not sure. I was going to probably try to get 200 to 300, and if I need more, man, run over there, get more. I don't know. I mean, last year we fed 300 people. I'm hoping to get more and more people in. And that's why I'm having it at the rec center. That's why I'm doing the day passes, because I think it's a win-win for our community. I'm not really sure on how exactly it looks or how many I'm going to use. So I am sure what the cost is for renting the facility.
My preference too would be to offset the cost of the facility, to provide that in kind, the facility, the hall and the setup. But I'd be fine with the day passes too. I think it's roughly the same amount of cost.
My concern with offsetting the rec center is, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a terrible person, but then we set up a precedent for the next person who wants to rent the rec center.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just come ask city council, you know, if they can get the fees offset. And
Yeah, and I understand that's a concern that everybody, but it's kind of like, and I talked to Tim about this, that not everybody's doing what we're doing. You know?
I agree.
It's kind of like when I asked for Steps to Recovery Homes. Steps to Recovery Homes, this event is about Steps to Recovery Homes. It's about the community. It's about education and awareness. When I talk about Steps to Recovery Homes, people say, oh, well, if we're going to do it for you, Damian, we're going to have to do it for everybody else. But it's not true, because not everybody does what we do. We do life coaching. We do, we do a lot of other stuff than a regular halfway house or whatever. So I don't think everybody's going to be putting on these events. I mean, I don't know. I understand the concern, but that's why I brought up too that I'm having a lot of people, a lot of other nonprofits are going to be there, and a lot of other businesses in our community will be there and be a part of this.
Right.
So it's not just going to benefit, well, I don't know if it's going to benefit me at all. It's going to benefit the community. It's going to benefit the other people that get to come, have a booth there, and show the community, here's a resource for what's going on.
Oh, I'm fine either way. That was just my concern with the rec center costs is, I
understand your concern. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I do, and I understand what you mean about setting a precedent, and that's there's certainly an opportunity for that. But again, I would agree with what Mr. Browning says. Not everybody does offer the service that he provides, and we offset for nonprofits versus for-profit people that come in to rent the facility, and so I think we can expect maybe to get other people asking, but it doesn't mean we have to give it away
Right.
based on what it is they're providing.
I just wanted to share why I had gone towards the other one over that.
Okay.
No, I just said why can't we do them both? Offset the cost of the building and the day passes.
We can do whatever council pleases.
It still gets them in there, and it gives them an opportunity to have it there.
Would this be coming out of our
The council contingency.
and
These are in kind, so we're not giving cash, but we are certainly offsetting the revenue that we'd receive otherwise from the facility.
I'm personally in a little bit of shock over, our budget's a lot, and I understand we've been talking about it, ongoing many months here. My preference would be let's offset the cost and then just leave it at that. I think we're doing a fine job showcasing the rec center. And if there's a concern about setting precedent, we'll hear that that's setting even more of a stretch of precedent there.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I make a motion that we offset the cost of the facility for this event.
Would that include setup, excuse me?
Including the setup fees.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Henry made the motion. Councilmember Allen seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Very good, thank you. Spent more time on that than $85 million.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, request from the American Legion Riders Post 25 for $200 to be used for their annual picnic and barbecue for veterans to be held at the Prescott VA Hospital and VA. I'm trying to say the last word, Dumas. I can't even. Thank you. Having a hard time with that. Don't know why.
I think we've been in front of the City Council the last 4 years, I believe. You've donated $200 each year. To let you know what this is actually used
If you would,
for.
please, sir, if you would just introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm David Hay. I'm the director of the Riders Group for the American Legion Post 25. We are part of the American Legion. This event is held by District 8 of the American Legion. There's 13 posts in northern Arizona. All of us participate in this. We all fund it. Each post puts in $200 of the Riders Group money. Most posts also double that. We also ask our communities to donate. All the money goes for a barbecue in the late summer. This year it's actually going to be October 21st. That's the date that the VA would like to have it. It is for all the patients and residents of the VA and their families if they're available. And then also the nurses and caretakers that take care of these men and women. We also have all our volunteers. Most of the riders come. We help bring them down their wheelchairs, sit and talk to them, spend the afternoon with them. We have a lot of different vendors around the area, food vendors and whatnot, to help participate. And whatever the money is left over is then put into the commissary and put into allotments for people that may need underwear, t-shirts, telephone cards. Most of these people don't have much. So those monies are then allocated to the commissary, and then it's their discretion to make sure that it goes to the right people. So whatever's not used is always gone to a good place. And we've been doing this now for, I believe, 12 years. I think we came to the city 4 years ago, and you were graciously enough to give us the $200. And we're back again.
Very good. Council? What's your pleasure?
It's something we've done before. It benefits our vets, our people at the hospital. $200 isn't much to ask for.
I would agree, and it's something we have done. We've set a precedent. We've supported this organization for several years, and I hope to continue to do so.
You all know how I feel about our veterans, so I don't know why you keep looking at me, but I love our vets, so.
She's also one of our riders.
I am, and since that did come up, I did check with Mr. Horton, and I do not have a conflict on this, even though I am an American Legion Post 25 rider.
Okay. All right, would you care to make a motion?
Sure. I move to donate $200 from the council contingency fund to the American Legion Riders Post 25 for their annual picnic and barbecue honoring our veterans.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Aldhouse made the motion. Councilmember Piper seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. Request by Mingus Union High School for refund of the building permit fee paid to construct a new building at the high school and waiver of the fire suppression and fire alarm permit fees.
Mayor and Council, Baron Nejad, Community Development Manager. And as you said, Mingus Union High School is constructing a new building to encompass their wrestling practice area and 3 classrooms and other areas related to these activities. And for the construction permit from the building department, total of $5,159.23 were assessed for the building, for building permit. Out of that, $4,958.37 building permit is already paid. That's the portion they are asking for a refund. And $137.36 is for fire suppression permit, which they haven't paid yet, but they would like to have a waiver for that. And also $63.50 for fire alarm permit for, this is, again, they're asking for waiver. So again, this adds up to $5,159.23. Meantime, city hired third-party plan review company for their plans. We sent it out, and we already paid $1,459.10 for the review. So out of that $5,159, we already paid from the department $1,459. So they are requesting refund for what they already paid and also asking for waiver for the remaining. But meantime, as a different this year that we already paid a third party $1,459. And somebody from the school district clerk is here if you have any further questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions from Mayor Najad?
I just have a question. Is this something we typically do for this school?
In the past years, we did. Only difference this year is we paid a third party already for the plan review.
Right.
So that's the only difference.
Thank you.
Okay. Would Mr. Waddle care to come up and make a presentation?
I don't have anything to add. Her name is correct.
We have to hear you say it into the mic, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I know that too. I'm Kirk Waddle. I'm the finance director for the high school district, and everything she explained is correct. I was leaving the country actually for a honeymoon, and so I paid the fees to get the project going. I didn't want it delayed, and I didn't request a waiver because I understood they had been paid by already paid to a third party, and so I didn't. But when I got back, I was told they would entertain a refund for partial amount of that plus a waiver for the fees we haven't paid. The funds will just be reinvested right back in the project. I'll just reduce other costs. And that, if you have any questions, I'll entertain those.
Okay. Any questions from council? Well, I support anything that helps our educational institutions in town. I think anything we can do to help put more money into the facilities and help the children out is money well invested. My concern is, though, that money is already, that we've spent to the contractor that reviews those plans. That's a hard dollar figure that we've already spent, so I don't know about, looks like there'd be about close to $4,000 remaining.
$3,613.
Yeah, how much we spent?
You paid $1,459.
You paid? Yeah, I would fully expect you to keep those funds. I didn't know that had been paid. I thought it had all been paid, so we didn't request a waiver originally. But I would think you would want to net that and refund just the amount that you didn't have out of pocket.
So what we could do then is just go ahead and waive the fire suppression, fire alarm, permit fees, and then pull out of that $49,5837 the $1459.10 that we've already spent. You did the math on that?
I believe it's $3,613.
Okay, looks about
would be
right.
the total.
Okay. Does that seem agreeable? Is there any discussion from council?
No, do you need a motion?
Please.
Move to approve the Mingus Union High School request for reimbursement and a waiver of the building and fire permit fees associated with the new building, except for the $1,459.10 that was already spent by the city on an outside review.
Second. Councilmember Henry made the motion. Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, request from Cottonwood Oak Creek School District for waiver of building permit and inspection fees for renovations to the Cottonwood Middle School. We're like a candy store today, aren't we?
It's the same situation. This time it's for Cottonwood Middle School. They are doing, again, as you said, renovations to the school. This time we did not have a third-party plan review in this case. So total amount is $3,045.69, and they're asking for a waiver. Okay. Somebody is here from the school district if you would like to have any questions.
Please step forward.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. If you'll remember last year...
Would you mind just introducing yourself, please, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Joe Schnapp. I represent the Cottonwood School District. I work for the H2 group. And last year we came to council and requested waiver of fees related to bond projects that we completed over the summer. And we appreciate the council passing and approving those. These fees are related to the design
review and permit and inspection fees. I will note, too, that the city came to us earlier in the year and requested a temporary easement along Mingus, and gave us compensation, or was willing to give us compensation for that temporary easement, and we waived that compensation for the city also as a good faith gesture. So, these projects are related to the bond program that's finally winding down from 2014. I don't expect coming back to the council related to any more bond projects in the future on recovery or request to waive any fees for permits.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question, Mr. Horton. If my granddaughter is the principal of the elementary school, do I have a conflict?
No, it's not your employee. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Snub?
No.
Okay.
You ready?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want a motion?
Please, yes.
I move to approve the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District request for a waiver of the building permit fees associated with the completion of the renovations of the Cottonwood Middle School.
Second.
Councilmember Allhouse made the motion. Norman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Motion's approved. Thank you. Okay, up next is new lease agreement with Sandra M. Brown, Seeds Natural Fiber Clothing for the Old Town Jail facility located at 1101 North Main Street. We have Mr. Rooney here.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, citizens of Cottonwood, and staff. I want to thank you for this opportunity to make a quick presentation, a request to and possible award and approval of the agreement for the lease of the historic Old Town Jail. You should have all received a very thorough business plan from Sandy Brown, and I'd like to bring Sandy up here to introduce you to her. This is Sandy Brown. Sandy.
Welcome.
Hey, Sandy.
Sandy is the owner of the Seeds Natural Fiber Clothing business, and it's up in Jerome right now in the old school. And she put together, I think, a pretty awesome business plan. Jeff Cook put together an RFP. Jeff works for Rudy. And Jeff did a great job of coordinating that part of it. And we went out and asked for proposals. I had numerous people come to me with ideas. Sandy put it down on paper, and I think she's got a great plan. I had somebody come to me and say, oh, we want to put in a yogurt shop. I said, okay, well, give us a proposal. The tea room was also another possibility somebody came to me with. So I had two ideas that never got put down on paper, and then plus Sandy's. And I think Sandy put together a really good plan. Then the RFP was evaluated by me, by Andrea Harless in our department. She was helping to coordinate some of the paperwork. Councilman Pfeiffer was also on the team, and Kirsten Lennon was looking at the finance side. Well, we were all looking at the finance side of things. And so we've got a proposal. You've all seen it, and I'm asking for your support to approve it and move forward. I believe it's a good proposal. Sandy is going to pay us $800 a month. I also want to back up just a little bit because 4+ years ago, the Old Town Jail was falling apart. It was a mess. And the city put a lot of money into fixing it up. And it's, it's always had a really neat history to it, but by fixing it up, it became an even more valuable asset. And then we had Christina, who put in the tea room. She ran it for 4 years. We raised the rent a little bit, over that 4-year time period. And it's a neat building, and it's got a good history. I think it's going to be real successful here in the future with Sandy involved. And I want to kind of turn it over to Sandy just to say a little bit about her business. She's been around for a long time. well, not a long time, but for a while. And she's an artist. She's an artist that makes clothing. And I do want to also pass out a little something for you to look at. This is, it's just a few bullet items that I want you to keep in mind as we're talking. And this should go by pretty quick. But we have a retail and entertainment cluster in Old Town. And we've evolved this over quite a long period of time. But I think most all of you remember how it used to be and can picture it today. I want to share this with you. Excuse me.
Can I ask a question? I was on the committee. I should step down, right?
Probably.
It's two-sided, something like that.
While you're handing that out, can we have Sandy step forward and... Ms. Brown, would you like to step forward and introduce yourself to the council, please?
Yes, I'm Sandy Brown. I moved to this area about 10 years ago after visiting in the 90s and fell in love with it. I would appreciate the opportunity of being a part of the community here in Old Town as a business member. I do love what I do, and I would be bringing a clientele to Old Town that is excited to come and explore this area too.
Well, let me just jump in. I want to share this with you. I Googled boutique today, and you'll see the definition: a small store selling fashionable clothes or accessories, a business that serves a sophisticated or specialized clientele. And then when you look at the other side, it says hospitality. Our hospitality down in Old Town is boutique hospitality, I think. Wine is a boutique product. Our food and culinary industry down here is boutique. The point of this whole thing is that we're getting to be known as all of these are important parts, assets of our community. And boutique is kind of what it's becoming. And people are looking at us that way too. I had somebody called me sent me an email yesterday saying, I want to come to Cottonwood this weekend with my girlfriends, and I need a place to stay. And there was nothing available. So I'm so glad to see we're building a boutique hotel. And Sandy's business is a boutique business. So I'm just kind of making that point. And I just wanted to share this with you because I think I put this slide together today. These are the things that are happening down in Old Town today. And I mean, there's not too many wine tasting rooms. There's not too many hotel rooms. There's not too many ladies' clothing stores. And then we've got all kinds of other things. There's a lot of variety down here, and I share that with a lot of people when I take them on tours of Old Town. I say, look at the variety of things we've got in our town. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now because I just want you to tell me what you think. I've looked at the market. I've looked at the rental rates. I've looked at all this. And Sandy's stepping it up from what we were renting it for before, and it's a considerable increase. And we've also got a G-Plat tax that if anybody could ever figure that out, I'd really appreciate it. But there's a seminar down in Phoenix, I think next week, on G-Plat, so we're going to go and try to understand that better. But she's going to pay us $800 a month. In her budget, she's got another $200 a month for the G-Plat. So it's in her budget, and she's talking about helping to fix up the building and keep it up to snuff and do the landscaping and everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Rennie.
I believe I do have my own niche that is very different than any business here, and it has to do with making custom wear, natural fiber clothing, and my clients really appreciate being involved in that. I have a studio that has my bolts of cloth, my own designs, and they are part of expressing their own style. so I'll.
And yeah, you'll also notice in her budget that her average sale is $281 or something.
It's really a little low because it averages in the $15 star.
If you could just speak a little closer. Mr. Rooney, why don't you have a seat, and we'll have Ms. Brown step up and give a present. Thank you.
In actuality, I think that average sale is a little low because it has the odd $15 scarf that sells, when most of my sales are up above 125 and they're stacked.
Great.
That's excellent.
So you had in her some ideas on what you were going to do. Is this landscaping-wise, or what were your ideas on sprucing up the building?
I think that Christina did a really lovely job in what the garden looked like. In her leaving, it's a little disassembled, and I'd like to reassemble it again, and I offered her $3,000 to leave all the pieces that she was going to take. That had to do with interior sinks, on-demand hot water heater, the pavement stones, the terracing, the gazebo that she was ready to dismantle.
Oh, good.
I have been involved in a city development in Gainesville, Florida before, where I was a part of being a partnership in a little restaurant down there, and I know the meaning of appreciating a piece of property and knowing that through the years there's going to be a legacy. It's not going to be dismantled. And I would like to see picture windows put in the front. I'd like to ask that the bars be removed, understanding they were just there for vandalism, to prevent that. But I would like to beautify the gardens, to have a successive garden, but being aware of sustainability. I'd like to recognize what I hear the town trying to develop. I think it's a very picturesque place for weddings, for events, small acoustic events. I'm really excited about my own business germinating here. I've been working on it for 30 years. Do you have any questions?
No, I was curious. I really enjoyed that little garden space you had in the back. I was hoping that could be brought back to life.
I think it's gorgeous. I think it adds a lot of dimension to that building and possibility.
It is a landmark. We recently went through a local landmarking process on that building, so it is a local historic landmark. So anything that you would want to do to the outside, you'd just want to run that by Historic Preservation Commission. But it's a beautiful building.
It is. It's a gem. When I heard it was open, I thought, oh, it's a dream place, and I thought there'd be a line of people that knew the owner. I didn't realize it was city-owned, and that I might have a chance. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Any other questions, please?
I just have to make a statement. Marvelous information. I think that's the most information we've ever been given when it comes to somebody that's going to be going into there. It gives us a lot of encouragement, a lot of confidence in your business that it's going to, hopefully do well for you and then for the city. But to know that you've got all your ducks in a row. You're not winging it. It's very impressive, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion from council? No.
And Mayor, I'll just add that probably the important piece is we did have a lot of interest in this. It was well advertised and published, and both on our website and the newspaper, and certainly by word of mouth. And so we had a lot of people say they were interested, but as Mr. Rooney said, there was only one person who actually took it that additional step and went through the proposal process. And again, the committee was tasked with not only looking at qualified candidates from a financial standpoint, but also how is that product going to fit in with Old Town? And they felt that this was a product that could definitely fit in Old Town.
Very good. And this was on the consent agenda item. I wanted to pull it. I realized we have a few new council members on board, and so I want the council to be aware that this is the building that we own, and we've tried to figure out the best use for it, and this is what we've come up with, this process here. So
I'd say it was a very well-written proposal as well. It was very good.
Yeah. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make I think Mr. Horton wants to speak. But
Yes.
I was going to say earlier, just because Casey mentioned GPLET, and I think the council knows what it is, but just for the record, it's the government property leasing excise tax, and it's chargeable to a tenant of government property under a lease. And so that's what Casey was referring to, and that was implemented by law 4 or 5 years ago.
It's been around.
Okay, I guess they've been, and they made it newly applicable, or at least they were enforcing it, and we were contacted from the county probably a couple of years ago, and we should have been charging our former tenant that, but now we're getting that cleaned up.
I see.
Also, as long as you providently pulled it off the consent agenda, Matt noticed an inconsistency in the provisions regarding late fees and interest and timely payment. So if you'd give staff authority to make final revisions to the formal lease, we'll do that.
Okay.
And that needs to be part of the, yeah.
It's fairly written into the suggested motion here, subject to approval of the final form of lease.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes.
I move to approve the proposed lease of the historic Cottonwood Old Town Jail to Sandra M. Brown, DBA Seeds Natural Fiber Clothing, subject to the approval of the final form of the lease by the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Althouse made the motion and Allen seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion's approved. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
You know, and Mr. Mayor, I think you were probably thinking of this too, is those bars on the windows were meant to keep people in the jail,
right,
not to keep people out of the jail. So it is part of the history of the building.
So once your customers come in, they can't get out. That's kind of that's the charm of the building. Yep. All right, item 9, consideration of one-time opportunity to extend the amortization period for funding the city's Arizona Public Safety Retirement System liability.
Mayor and Council, in your packet, we have that one-time opportunity to make some changes to the amortization period. I did include the Ken Strobeck's memo in there, as well as some of the relevant language to the statute. To make it, to kind of expedite this, basically, we have a one-time opportunity to expand our current 20-year amortization of our unfunded liability with public safety retirement. Not A.S.R.S., just the public safety retirement, from 20, which we currently have, to 30 years. There's pros and cons, and I'll kind of go over the pros and cons. Of course, the lengthening of the time, the period, the same amount of debt, pretty much allows us to go ahead and make smaller payments over a longer period of time, obviously. And then, of course, it keeps us from having these big spikes. As you notice, that we had some real big spikes already. However, where we're at right now is probably close to where it's going to be from here on out. The whole idea of this is to extend it for 30 years, instead anywhere between 20 and 30 years, and those rates would slowly come down a bit, but they would still be for 30 years. It's much like getting a refinance for 30 years when you only have 20 years on the books. You're probably going to pay a lot more in interest, and that's where the cons come in. Lengthening the period increases the time during which the plan experiences so-called negative amortization, and during which employees effectively pay only the interest and no principal on the debt. Pension funding becomes costlier over the long run by lengthening the amortization period, which is fairly obvious. When lengthening the amortization period, deferring recognition of pension costs that have already occurred inappropriately shift those costs to future taxpayers. And lengthening the amortization may destabilize the pension system to a degree that it undermines the amount of assets available for the fund for future beneficiaries. And of course, in your listing of all the cities that are and organizations that are listed on DSPRS, overfunded plans could have an increase in contribution amounts when the amortization period is lengthened. We provided a list of all the organizations that are in public safety retirement. And if you notice, both in fire and in PD, we're pretty much about in the middle. Some people are paying considerably more than we are, and some obviously are paying considerably less percentage-wise, and some are already well overfunded. Usually those are the smaller organizations or the new organizations. So what we're asking for today is if council would like to make a change to our current structure. It saves us a little bit of money on the front end, but it's going to cost us a lot more on the back end of this program. And as the program shows that we're extending it and passing this on to future taxpayers past that 20-year mark. The other thing is we have a resolution on it. It's just a sample resolution. We don't have a full resolution on it because we want to get the council's input whether they want to change the amortization period from 20 to 30 years. If we do want to make some changes anywhere between those two periods, then we probably have to redo the resolution and bring it back. And we'd have to bring it back very quickly. We have a very short timeline because we have to get it back down to the league and to PSPRS before their next June meeting so that they can get it on the agenda. So we would have to get an answer today. If it's 20 years, we're good to go. We don't have to do anything. If there's a change, then we have to rewrite the resolution with and probably special meeting of sorts next week or so we could go ahead and get that thing passed.
I had asked just for the resolution to have the 20-year date in there so we wouldn't have to meet again. So I was taking a shot that that's kind of how council felt based on staff's recommendation, but certainly up for discussion.
I would agree. It makes financial sense to me.
Okay.
And I believe, Mr. Mayor, that if we stay with 20 years, we don't have to submit the resolution. No. It's just if we change it to 30 years.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the staff discussion was that possibly the council would take some legal action to at least formalize the council's decision to stay at the 20-year amortization.
Okay. Does that seem agreeable to majority council? Okay.
Make a motion?
Please.
I move to continue funding the city's Arizona Public Safety Personnel System liability on the current 20-year amortization schedule.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Allen made the motion and Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion's approved.
Thank you, Mayor.
No need to read the resolution, correct? We're just moving on. Okay, got it. Okay, next is award of bid and approval of proposed contract for custodial janitorial services.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, tonight we're requesting.
If you would, Mr. Faust, just introduce yourself. We all know who you are.
I'm Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood, and tonight you have in front of you information as custodial janitorial maintenance services and citywide contract. This is approval of contract. Staff's requesting council's review and consideration of awarding the contract for city custodial janitorial services to Melton & Sons LLC. If we go back a bit and identify that staff initially requested a request for proposals on April 6th. It was basically thrown out after we had identified that their certifications criteria was higher graded and or rated over qualifications, experience, and references. And what it did is it basically disabled almost everybody in that group that was looking for basically that qualifications and experience level. The solicitation was published in the newspaper in consecutive weeks, was posted on public purchase as well as city website, and 5 completed proposals were received by the deadline. By reissuing the proposal with a higher emphasis on cost and qualifications experience, staff discovered a cost reduction in every proposal received, plus the addition of 1 new proposal received from the previous solicitation. The evaluation committee consisted of the main departments that manage the largest square footages within the city, so that was police, public works, and recreation center. I'm glad fire department left so they wouldn't get that, but we meant to put fire department in there as well. Also review And evaluations were based on the revised criteria established in the request for proposals, and Melton and Sons received the highest average score for the committee members, which was also unanimously chosen as the most advantageous proposal by the scorers on the committee. Just to let you know that the evaluation team, they graded them individually and then met as a group. So there was no discussions beforehand, and so everybody came forward, and so this was actually the rating criteria that came out from that. Basically, the current cost for custodial, and I wanted to go over this, is that custodial janitorial operations this past year were identified at a maximum of, we were paying $256,000. And considering a 3-year term under the current company, current costs and services without minimum wage increases were identified at $768,000 if you add those 3 years together. So going into the bid contract, or the 5 bids that were received with the following amounts for the 3-year period, Melton & Sons came in at $772,119.80 here in Cottonwood, Arizona. That's their location. Reichert Enterprises, which is DBA Service Master out of Phoenix, came in at $874,605. Carnation Building Services Incorporated out of Phoenix came in at $888,522. Biojanitorial Service out of Glenda, Arizona, and actually their main office is in Denver, Colorado, came in at $930,226. And Accurate Building Maintenance is located out of Las Vegas, Nevada, which is our current server of janitorial and custodial work. It was $1,044,014.62. And the award of the contract for custodial janitorial services will provide the city with a 3-year agreement option with opportunity for 2 possible 1-year options for extension as authorized by the council on a year-to-year basis. And with that, are there any questions? And also, Mr. Melton is here tonight with Melton & Sons.
Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Faust? No. Mr. Horton, did you want to share something?
Mr. Mayor, I'll jump in because at 3:17 yesterday, and let me back up. We built into our typical RFP template, we built in a protest mechanism that's not unlike the mechanisms you see in public procurement processes and the state procurement code. We put it in there. We were not duty bound or legally bound to do so, but we put it in there in order to afford the city, staff, council, an opportunity to let bidders make a record of concerns they had if they believed there were flaws in the process, and give the city an opportunity to correct those flaws before making a decision that would then lead to litigation. So it's the benefit is we allow for an opportunity for reflection should there be a mistake. Now the council knows in this case there was a self-discovered mistake in the criteria in the first cycle of RFP that we corrected and reissued. The flip side of having this mechanism in place for bidders is you can get frivolous protests. And at 3:17 yesterday afternoon, we received what, and it's couched in terms of the statement of intent to file a protest, but it meets all the criteria we laid out for perfecting a protest, including the timing of it, being it needs to come in before the council makes a decision on a recommended award. So I would characterize this as a protest that the city has received. I would also characterize it on its merits as not well-founded. It contains incorrect statements of fact. I know because I was part of the original decision, administrative decision, to reissue the solicitation, and I know the reasons for it. And the allegations and the foundation of the protest, I think, is without merit. So what my recommendation on top of staff's recommendation, I wasn't part of the screening and scoring and substantive recommendation, but with respect to the protest, the council has the prerogative under the way we set up that mechanism to either call for a hearing, an administrative hearing, and we deliberately left that open because based on facts and circumstances, the council could give some direction about what that would look like, or the council can authorize the issuance of a written response to the protest. My recommendation with respect to this particular protest is, after the council make whatever decision it's going to make on the staff recommendation, that it authorize staff to issue a written response denying the protest.
Okay. We would deny the protest so that we can move forward with issuing this.
Correct. And if the council wants to weigh in on when, I think there's an anticipated presumptive date when we change providers if the staff recommendation is followed, but I think it's certainly the council's prerogative to weigh in on that as well.
So what's the time frame then if we allow the protest to go through this hearing process? What?
If you want to direct that there be a due process hearing, it depends upon if you want the protest, the hearing held internally, or if you want us to set up a classic due process hearing with a hearing officer from outside the city, and the city staff would present its case. It would give the protester an opportunity to present his case, and then the hearing officer would make findings, conclusions of law, findings of fact, and a recommendation about the decision to council.
Mm-hmm. Council, how do you all feel about this?
I prefer to let staff do the written letter denying the protest.
Okay.
I agree. I agree.
I agree. I mean, he even says he will be filing a formal protest. I understand what Mr. Horton said, that it meets the requirements, but it doesn't even read as though the intent.
And to be fair on that, he's asking for more information, and he asked for a lot of information in a real big hurry. My concern about that, and I haven't had an opportunity to even visit with staff about this, is I didn't think it would be appropriate, especially given what I believe to be the lack of merit of the protest, to delay this decision by council or giving the opportunity to move forward on this procurement based on this protest while we provided the additional documentation. I think the process, the mechanism worked as it's supposed to because it gave us an opportunity to see if we thought there's any there. I don't think there's any there. It's ultimately the council's judgment, but that's mine.
Okay. All right. Then I'll go ahead and move to award the proposed custodial janitorial services to contract to Melton & Sons, LLC, subject to approval of the final form of agreement by the city attorney, and direct the city attorney to deny the protest. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council.
All right, I think we're down to the last, aren't we? So, item 11, agreement with Sedona Now and Clear Production Services for media coverage to promote the city in exchange for media coverage provided by the Parks and Recreation Department through in-kind resources.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Hezekiah Allen with the Parks and Recreation Department. Hopefully this is a bit lighter material than the rest of the meeting. We have a great opportunity here. Staff was approached by Sedona Now. The Parks and Recreation Department, along with Economic Development, we really consider ourselves brand ambassadors because we do a lot of public outreach on a regular basis. And with that, there's brand recognition and there's brand maintenance, and it's an ongoing process. And it can be very costly. So having a private-public partnership to help that process is huge. So basically what it entails is that this station is kind of, they're spread throughout the Sedona hotel market as well, and they're trying to break into the Verde Valley market, and that's kind of their approach to this partnership. With that, so 3 commercials, 12 months out of the year, play 60 seconds throughout the day, about 12 times throughout the day, and they would promote Thunder Valley Rally, Walking on Main, Brian Mickelson Marathon. It's some of the key programs that we do. There are many key programs that we do. And so it's really nice, you know, at the end of the day, the total cost, probably more so around $29,520 if you added it all up, the package they put together for us. The in-kind trade, you know, what we are rich in is resources and being able to leverage those to go after some great media buys. So that's really what the partnership consists of. Does council have any questions?
The only question I have is on their proposal, they're only listing one event that the city does, but in the communication form it lists many events that they would be promoting. So which is it?
So if you look at the Sedona Now contract, it says S&M agrees to air three 60-second spot 12 times per day for 12 months. So those are in essence 3 commercials promoting 3 different programs. Does that answer your question, Aaron?
No, it doesn't, because it just says the advertiser agrees to pay and trade S&M, Sedona Now Marketing, the total amount stated below as consideration. Anyway, for Thunder Valley Rally over S&M television channel, so it just lists one event. But you're saying we're going to promote other events, so
Three, yeah. And it sounds like there's a possibility, if council desires, to maybe throw another one in there. So.
But they're aware they're going to be doing other events, right? Because again, according, am I the only one that's reading it this way?
No, I see that as well. Is it possible to get that, you know, edited or you know, approve it with desired change, just so, you know, provide us 3 events?
I would just hate for them to think we only have one event to focus on for our production work, and then we come back and say, oh, actually, we're going to go ahead and throw Walking on Main and
Well, I think
Brian Nicholson.
The suggested motion kind of leaves it vague, or it's just kind of an in-kind partnership with Sedona Now, leaving staff. And then the contract actually states S&M agrees to air 3 60-second spot 12 times per day for 12 months. And then the 3 commercials would be Walking on Main, Brian Mickelson, and TVR.
I understand. I think we're talking in circles here because that's not listed in their contract.
We can certainly, with your direction, make sure the contract includes the specifics.
Is there anyone from Sedona Now here? No, okay. Okay. I just want to make sure that
that can be a contingency of the council's approval.
I think it'd be wise. I just don't want to put them in a bind thinking we're only going to promote one event and then we throw 2 others at them. So.
I agree.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep. Second paragraph down, yeah.
Yep.
But I think it's a great partnership. I think it's, you know, again, when people travel to Arizona, they think, I'm going to go to Grand Canyon, I'm going to go to Sedona. And they're in all these hotels in Sedona, so there's really a market there. And with Sedona being a geotourism destination, you know, if we can tap into that market and just draw people over here, then we'll be successful. So.
I think it's a win-win for both of us when we do that in kind. I really appreciate that you worked that out. I mean, that's a great way to do it.
All right, then I'll go ahead and move to approve the proposed agreement between Sedona Now and Clear Production Services for media coverage promoting the City of Cottonwood in exchange for media coverage of Sedona Now and Clear Production Services provided by the Parks and Rec Department through in-kind services, with the understanding that the agreement is contingent upon promoting 3 city events.
Yep.
Should we limit ourselves to 3? Okay.
Second. Or you could just say other city events.
Yep.
And we'll try and get as many as we can.
Then I'll just say, if I could amend it to other city events. Okay, thank you.
And I'll second.
Did you second that? Okay, so Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Allen seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you.
Move to pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
Okay, Allen motioned and Norman seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And council members, I'd just draw your attention to the bed tax. That is for 1 month, almost $22,000, and it's a pretty significant amount. And it, again, I think talks to the fact that we're getting more people here and interested in staying in Cottonwood, and so Mr. Backus really needs to get that hotel finished out there. So.
And thanks to Rudy for doing that audit a while back, which really helped.
Yeah, now they're reporting it correctly.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night, everyone. Thank you.
I'm gonna oppose that one night.